So I think the group has had a few meetings in the past. I've not been able to attend the prior meetings, but here today just sort of run through the project very quickly to remind you folks of what it is, and then maybe have a chance to answer a few questions if there's anything else that's outstanding. So with that, we'll probably just go right ahead and get started. So, as I said, we're here to provide an update and just go over what the project entails. The project is actually two separate projects combined together. One is the repair of the roads in the hairpin turn area, and the second is to repair or realign the sewer main that's coming down Conejo Road and sort of try to keep it out of harm's way in the hairpin portion of the road. So the roadway repairs are just that, to restore the adequate slope. Those familiar with the area realize that as you come past Conejo Lane, there's a pretty steep slope, and then you have the hairpin turn. The portion of this work is going to fill in that low area and make it a continuous grade all the way around the radius, make it easier to get around. And then the sewer main improvements are sort of bypassing or there's a sewer main coming down Conejo Road for all the houses up at the upper portion of the road, and we're going to be intercepting that, installing a new sewer manhole and running it down through an easement and reducing the amount of flow that goes actually through the hairpin turn area. So when we get done, there'll be just a few houses in the bottom area that will be using a new sewer main, but most of that will be bypassed. And picture here is the construction limits. Perhaps you've seen that before. So we're going up Conejo Road up to, and I'm not going to be able to see the address up at the top, 486 at the top, and installing some new sewer manhole at that point, and then going along the top you can see, maybe I can use this laser across here too. Starting here with manholes, we're going to have the bypass of the sewage that's currently coming down Conejo. We'll go down this section, come over to another manhole, and then connect down to the existing sewer. So we're going to be bypassing perhaps what is currently 30 plus houses that are going down that road. And then the additional portion of the sewer will be around this section where we'll be picking up the houses in this area and out at the end, and then they will connect as well. And as you can see with the shaded area, we will be working in the asphalt in that entire area from the top, reconditioning this portion of the asphalt and realigning that back into its proper location, working around the corner, filling in this area that is known to be low, and then making a connection back to Conejo Lane. Looking at the slope, I guess a portion of this project and a portion of the criteria is just to reduce that steep incline. I guess we're going to be reducing it down to 16%. I don't know what it is at the moment, but certainly well above that. And as I said, the asphalt as we're going up and down the road is intended to move the road back into the existing alignment. Look and see what else we have. So I've probably covered portions of this even as I go through each of the slides. The sewer main is the portion that's on top. Maybe I can go back to that and show you that. Portion up here will be intercepting the 30 plus houses on top, and then we're going to be boring below ground through this property here to a new sewer main or a manhole, and then connect a manhole and then connect to the existing sewer. So this portion, as we're doing our work, you're going to see a large pit at the top. There will be a bit of a pit at the bottom, and all service will be maintained during the entire time of construction, so you won't have to worry about any times when you don't have any water or wastewater service. And as I pointed out, in the bottom here, we'll be connecting the houses down in this area to the existing main. So I know that quite often during construction of this sort, people wonder, are you going to be out of service, and that is not going to be the case. We'll bump back ahead and see. Up here, there will be a new manhole right at the base of this bore, and then we will go over to an existing manhole that's right here. And that existing manhole carries down the hill. Okay. So we get to a portion of why we're here tonight. Some of you folks may have heard that this was coming, so we let everybody know that when we finally have a contractor on board, and we finally do, is John McDonough Construction out of San Luis Obispo. And it says here that we anticipate beginning the week of August 27th, and that is the case. We were hoping to be digging right away Monday morning, but we've had a sort of a scheduling issue with the people that are going to be doing the boring, so they're going to be delayed a little bit. So we will start either at the end of that week, doing some prep work, some potholing. You'll see some guys there with some light equipment, and then the heavy equipment will show up Tuesday the 4th. So we're actually starting the week of the 27th, but it'll be the end of it. So starting the 4th, and then the 30 working day, that can vary. I don't know if some of you folks know that today was a red flag alert day. I know that we've had a number of construction projects up in your area that were stopped, so that's why we have this little caveat here that construction project could be extended depending upon days, anything else that happens. The intent of the work is to get started now. It's a nice part of the year, nice and warm, and hopefully get all the work done before it starts to rain. Unfortunately, we don't know what day that is, but that is our intent, to start now and get done before the rain. So I know that in past meetings we've had discussions about the phasing, and that has to do with where you have access to your homes. So we've gone and spoke with the contractor and tried to come up with a few means of allowing access more than we thought. I believe in previous meetings it was suggested that the lane might be cut off for some time, maybe as much as 2 weeks. Well, that sounds like an awful long time, and I think we've come up with a way to work around that. So what I'm going to look at here is our phase one. We're going to be starting up here, working on the sewer, repairing this road, going down in this section. We're going to have some fill. You're going to find some awfully fancy construction. There's a foam block that's going to be inserted there instead of just soils. And then once the block is installed, you're going to have the road section installed above that. So we're going to have a cutoff just before Conejo Lane. And so at all that time, you'll have access on the lane up, or from the bottom up to this point. And then these folks will have access from the top down to the houses here, all the way down to the corner. Now this section of the road, while they're working on it, won't be a nice, smooth, paved surface. There will be times when it will be either crushed rock or a base or something of that nature. So the houses that are getting in here will be driving over a portion of a dirt road for that time frame. However, you will have access at all times. So that's the first portion. Then we get to the second area, which it will be a little more exciting because we're working down in this intersection where most of you folks, or the folks on Conejo Lane, go up this way. Now that, as we're working on this section, we obviously can't have you drive through there. There's going to be some fill and other work. So it's going to be, I don't know that we've defined that, a week plus, maybe 2 weeks that we're working in this area. But to allow access, we're going to construct a ramp across this way. Phase one will be complete. This road will be in its final configuration or pretty close to it. So to get to the lane, you'll have to come down from the top and then drive up this access and have access to the lane. So I know that might be a little different. You may be accustomed to going down Sycamore Canyon, and it is certainly convenient going that way. But I think this will allow us to do the work and make sure that we get it done correctly, and you will still have access at all times. So that's the plan that we've come up with. And I have high hopes that it's going to work. We're looking for this to make sure that you have access to your homes at all times. Now, what does that mean when you're coming down from the top? Obviously, it's a little bit further than coming off of Stanwood. So our Detour is going to have signs course, down in this area. It's going to put you all the way around 192, and the detour will be laid out going up Orizaba. If you come from any other direction, I imagine that after a day of this, you're going to find your own favorite path that you wish to travel. But the detour will come through up Orizaba and then back down Conejo from the top. So at the phase 1, these 3 houses will have to come from the top. Conejo Lane will come down from the bottom. Phase 2 is everybody comes down from the top. We have information here, and I think we've sent out a flyer to invite you here today. We will likely have one more. The contractor is going to put it out, and it'll have his information and my information, Tim Gash, the project manager. And you might have other contacts that you've worked with in the past, Pat Kelly, the city engineer. And Chris Toth is the wastewater systems manager. And then for the streets maintenance, Rick Fulmer. So I will be the most available. My name's on top. Give me a call first. I think we'll have the maybe even my email address if you'd like to do it that way. But if you have any questions or comments, concerns, things are going right, things are not going quite right, I'm the person to contact. I'm the one who can respond most quickly. So as we were starting here, we did have someone join us. I'd like to maybe introduce John McDonough. He will be the contractor. He's here tonight to meet you folks and perhaps ask any question. And then Mark Amos, I believe, is going to be the supervisor on site.
I have a question. Before, when you showed the graph where the sewer is going to cross into
Any one of these?
Lane,
Yes, up top here.
that's for the sewer and drainage?
That is sewer only.
The sewer only?
Yes.
And that's just for the sewer. How about the properties below that? Where is the sewer and drainage going from there?
These houses here, they're currently going to the existing sewer on Conejo Lane, and then these houses also already have connections.
Going to what's existing?
That's correct. That's correct. That's correct. The purpose of this is to take all the houses up the road. The sewer main that's coming down the street from everything up above you. That is correct. And we're trying to minimize the flow through this area. Should anything, arise in the future, we've got a minimal flow.
They discussed something about a material that was going to be put down on the curb right now. Some kind of a lightweight material like that.
It is. That is the fancy. It's foam block is what we're doing. It's foam.
Impregnated with asphalt? I don't know.
I don't know that's impregnated with asphalt, but the intention of the block is it will provide the structure and the shape of the hill, of course, reducing the mass. I think we're all concerned about the weight, the mass. It's all about the weight in the area. So we have that foam defining most of the road, then they will have soil on top and the asphalt. So from the top, when we're complete, it will look like our standard road. But below that is...
It's all about the weight you put down in that area. Right?
That's the purpose of the foam, that's
Have
correct.
you guys considered the weight that water is going to produce from the weight from water onto that kind of soil? It's going to be above that area where the water drainage is going to be?
Well,
Looking
are you talking about drainage in general for the area?
where it's going to affect tremendously.
Well, the drainage for this area will not really be any different than it is. And the purpose of this project is not to address the drainage anything up above that area. I imagine you're talking in this general area at the end of Elin and everything above it.
Going down to that area.
And that will continue to be the same. We have the surface water coming over here, and I believe that there is will be a new catch basin on this side of the road to bring it to the other side of the road. So,
I guess what I'm saying is you haven't really addressed that.
as far as the drainage, anything above that area,
You haven't really addressed that.
this project does not address the drainage above that area. That's correct.
So, bottom line, there's still going to be a problem with water seeping down in that area from, it's going to impact the whole effect of what you guys are trying to defeat by putting the lightweight material in the project in the first place.
What's that? Brian? Okay.
My
Pri-
name is Brian Demore. I spoke at the last meeting. On the mic?
Not as loud as I am.
Oh, yeah. So for the recording, Brian Demore, supervising civil engineer, City of Santa Barbara. So as far as drainage is concerned, we've been looking into what to do about drainage in this area for as long as we've been looking at repairing the roadway. And it's our intent to collect the stormwater that falls on the roadway, and that's why, when was that, 1984 or 5, we installed a number of catch basin facilities and pipes in the area. Since then, some things have probably changed, and it's not functioning as well as it was 20 plus years ago. But with this project, we are installing asphalt berms to try to better collect the water that is falling on the roadway, and get it to go down towards that catch basin that's in that hairpin area. So the project will improve drainage from the project area. As far as anything beyond the project area, we're still looking at that, specifically at Eland and around the bend there. So that's still ongoing, and we can provide updates to you as we learn more about what's actually happening there. We've heard from some of the residents, sometimes you just have to see what's actually happening during an event to know where the water's going. We've got a lot of survey information, but it doesn't always tell you which way the water's going to flow on one side, to one side of the road or the other. But it is our intent to try to collect the water that is falling on the roadway. The water that's landing on private property, if it washes into the roadway, it will generally be collected, but there's a lot of water that hits private property that's impervious, or that's pervious. It's just soil, and it will infiltrate into the slide mass. There's nothing the city's planning to do for private property drainage. Yes.
Are there going to be any provisions for a slip joint at the, what I call the Conejo bump? It's about 100 feet below that main box that you're talking about. Where there's
Are you talking here or down this way? Up in this area? Above that.
And that's where the slide plane is. And if water comes down the street, it goes into that hole. It's just like oil in the slide. It only goes right to the stretch of water. Is there going to be any provisions for a slip joint there so that the water can continue flowing past that hatch area?
I'm not sure what that would look like, a slip joint. We could talk about that some more, but probably it would just be plugging it with asphalt as needed as things move. I'm not sure there's...
What my idea was that immediately above,
Right, above that area.
above that crack, if there was a pipe installed that went 20, 30, 40, 50 feet down the road, but the water would not go into that cracked area.
I believe there is a catch basin not too far up from that location.
There's still a lot of water below that. It goes right into the crack in the mountain, and it's just a lubricant for the landslide. Same thing with Reynolds Place. There's a crack there, the water goes right straight down into the slide area, and it's not being taken care of. It just goes into the slide, which is going to cause more problems in the future.
We are looking into that, and we'll specifically take another closer look at that area that you just referenced on Conejo Road above the hairpin.
I guess that was my point, was the fact that part of the slide plane is on Eland Place, and there's a tremendous amount of water that goes down that street. I know you know already that street has been abandoned, but the fact of the matter is, there's still a tremendous amount of water that's going down that street. There's 3 houses that are going to be built in the future that are going to have saying is it totally impacts what you guys are trying to do on the hairpin turn down lower Conejo, because it's gonna impact everything. But that is not addressed.
And we are, look, and we hope to have some kind of plan in place before this rain season to address that. But it's something we're continuing to look at, and we can continue these meetings if needed to talk about the drainage issues. But we were here tonight specifically to talk about this project, and we didn't want to hold anything up because this is progress, but it's not all we're going to do. It's
I mean, it's part of the whole picture.
yes.
I have a question
Oops.
about the foam. So, in the bottom of the U there,
Mm-hmm. Down in
I've
this area.
watched it over like only 10 years. A lot of these people watched it a lot longer. That whole area just kind of gradually has sunk. And the asphalt, in a lot of cases, has kind of moved with it. It kind of is elastic, I guess, if it's hot or whatever. Well, that block is not going to do that. So what's going to happen when the bottom falls out of that again, from the rain that's not, the drainage that's not fixed? Will that, I mean, it won't even be a road anymore. It'll be those blocks, or how does that work?
Well, it's true that the area is moving in different directions. I think there's portions that are moving horizontally and portions that are moving vertically, as you pointed out. The portion of the reason or the idea behind this work is to correct the road to make it passable. And I think you're pointing out that you're thinking that in some time in the future there will be damage again, and I imagine that there will be.
Well, they're talking about an El Nino winter coming up. Could be soon.
It could be soon, but I think as you've had the meetings here and even the conversations that were going on today during the course of the day, that not everything is addressed, and I don't know that where the water is going is going to be a key focus and focus that any water is going to change the project. That is likely, but I believe that this is going to stay together, and I see that John is maybe going to step in and offer some opinion of how the block is going to function. John, do you have anything to add to that?
Well, I was just saying, the block's actually embedded into the soil. It's feed actually into the hillside on a flat level site, and then so that we have the new, basically resisting soil, ground, dirt, asphalt, whatever we use. It's encapsulated in, it's the center, it's a core, so to speak. And it's not placed along the plane of the road. We're actually benching it in, and it's feeding into that bank. It's going to hopefully help stabilize it. I've seen Caltrans use this method once before. It's kind of the technology's been around a lot, but it seems to use a lot. I understand your concerns, and this is certainly an interesting project. And I just wanted to say, while I was talking, that Mark and I came down tonight to kind of have a better perspective of everyone's concerns, and hopefully have a project that everyone is happy with and runs as smoothly as possible. And so that's why we're here. And we've got some cards to let us meet some of the folks. We're here to hopefully make this a good project for the city and all the residents up there. But the blocks are an interesting concept as far as weight and mass, and it's interesting to see natural features of Mother Nature and how we value them. I'm not always sure if we're going to win, but at least we've got a progressive step forward.
Might just elaborate on what you said, John. Is you said when we're keying into the side and spreading the load, that's the key on any time that you're having soil moving, is instead of having a single point load like we have now with the asphalt, is the base of the foam is wider than the road itself, so it spreads the load out. So the intent is to have that section maintain a uniform size and shape, So you won't have the point loading, you won't have the one section of the road that sinks down as it currently does. It'll sort of spread the load over a larger area, and with the idea being that it's not going to move nearly as much as it does now.
How much, so there at the junction, the gray part there, not the dark gray, how much higher is
This-
it going to be right there?
Just to the south or
Right in this area.
that's here, it's getting higher, like 20.
Yeah. And then you're coming up to this. This will be leveled out and the grade, the transition be a little smoother. It will appear to be less grade. This is pretty steep right here with the concrete, and then it gets level, so we're going to be working that, taking out the grade and sort of stretching it around the corner. So the
And just below that is higher there, no, you know where the angle is like this, just below that, like that one property right there, that
Right.
triangle kind of. To the right.
this
Is it high there?
that is pretty close to the existing grade, and that this intersection and this bank along the side is all pretty close to the same elevation.
Okay, and then,
But this area is where it drops down right now. That's where we're going to be filling with the foam. In this area here. Yeah.
Well, in that area, you know, as that's the elevated area.
and that road will be sloped towards the,
hmm
and that area will be sloped towards that new box that's already there. right?
Yes. The intent is to take this road and have it be a continuous grade or a smoother transition around here, and I believe there's a
And the drain.
drop inland there. Correct. And there's still one on that side.
On that section, what about fire trucks and ambulances? Can we get up there?
Right now, I think they have a hard time, and we have a representative from the fire department that might agree with that statement, but the purpose of this is to have an even transition to accommodate vehicles of all sorts, including the fire department.
That'd be great. The last question is, on Conejo Road, all the people that own property on Conejo Lane, there's a berm on that road right now that stops the water from going over the top of the hill.
You're talking along the side, the outside of this road, portion of the road?
No, on your block, on the Conejo Lane.
Oh, right here,
Right there. There's a
right
berm
there.
that stops a lot of the water from going over the top of the
Right. Because the whole road will be replaced and moved back into the alignment, but yes, berm on that side.
Where it's supposed to be there.
It is, and I think you're going to see the most dramatic change right through here. There's a concrete area and walkway that you're all accustomed to seeing. I think we're going to be moving into that area 6 to 10 feet to put the road back. So this is where you're going to notice the most. I don't know that you'll see a little bit wider on top, but right through here is when where you're going to notice the most.
I got a couple questions. Just out of curiosity, how thick is the foam that you put in there?
The block sizes, there's a number of blocks that
Well, I
it's
mean,
all.
like, how much foam
Well,
will be in there? Is it
didn't you say it was as much as 5 feet? Is that the maximum?
And then on the Del Monte lot, the one that's at the bottom there, the bottom of the hairpin? No.
This-
Yeah.
Inside-
You're going to be raising the road bed there. Are you going to be filling anything in on that lot to make sure that you don't create a dam there to?
Are you talking like on the top side of this?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe they're going to be filling in the lot, because what you're going to see is the road is currently here and it's moving this direction away, so it's going to appear to be a nice level spot that's left. So we're not really going to be working on that property or doing any fill on that property.
That area will be sloped though, because
Inside, you're talking the entire bowl, will it be?
Yeah, because right now it's like a big bowl in there.
Right, so right down in this area, I think it's probably the lowest, and it does not get up to the drain area. We're going to be working in that area. We can certainly look at that and make sure that that doesn't happen. Yeah. So what is currently a low spot right here will be filled in. As you recall, we're having an access ramp go across here. So we're sort of filling in that area a little bit with the access ramp, and then as this grade comes up, that'll be filling in that, so that hole, we'll make sure that that hole is focused, so everything drains to that new drop inlet.
Will that access ramp remain after the construction project?
It was not intended to, no, we will take that out. Because in that location, that ramp would then block the very drainage that you're asking me for.
This was about 16% grade improvement.
Right.
What was that right there?
It was in this section.
Then, the light, the other grade area, what would that grade be to be done?
Going up this,
Comparatively what it is now?
It's about 21, 22% right now, or be just below 16%. Same thing for here. It's about 20, 22% in that range right now, and it'll be less than 16%.
I didn't introduce David Reynolds with Penfield and Smith. Perhaps you met in previous meetings, but he is a design engineer with Penfield and Smith for this project. Yes, ma'am.
I don't understand, and it's Brian,
Yes.
I don't understand how you can say that the city is going to continue looking at the drainage issues from England when our city council has chosen to not take responsibility for England.
Yeah, that's a good question, actually, and I think this answer hopefully will clarify that. So we've abandoned the roadway, but there are still easements in that area, including, I don't know if it's specifically for storm drain or if it just says utility easements, but we still have easements in there, and we haven't addressed that yet. The easements have not been abandoned, so that's why we're continuing to look at that.
How are we to believe that the city, who has, I consider it disowned England, they've abandoned that because it's too much work, or too expense, or too few of people. So what's stopping the city from 6 months to now abandoning the drain issues for the same reasons?
I am not sure what the outcome is going to be with that, but we are looking at it, and we do feel that there's an obligation to do something about that. I don't know what the answer is going to be. It's beyond anything I've ever dealt with, and it's at least a couple of steps above me for somebody to make a decision on that. We've just been collecting the information, so I really can't give you too much more other than I keep saying that we're looking into it, and that's probably frustrating to hear that over and over, but that's...
The key to this slide area is water. And drainage is the key. If there's no drainage provided for Eland Place, that's the top of the slide. This project is going to go down the drain just like it is now. So you're going to spend several $100,000 and watch it blow away without drainage, some sort of drainage system in the Eland area.
Yeah, one thing to remember, the slide mass is very deep. It's a very large slide mass. I forget exactly how deep it is in certain areas, but 75 feet deep. And the area, the entire area that drains into the slide mass is much bigger than just this little Conejo and Eland Place area. So I'm not trying to say that the drainage on the road is insignificant, but it is a small amount compared to the whole area that is entering that slide. We don't want to make things any worse.
Concentrated though, because it's going down the big road.
Right, and we are trying to collect the concentrated flow that's on the road.
Since the GEO report in 1984, they promised drainage in our area, and it's really been inadequate. We've asked all these years, please, maintain the road, fill the cracks so the water doesn't go down into the cracks, and do the drainage you promised us. We've asked this of the city over and over and over, and today we're still asking.
Okay, well, we did install numerous storm drain facilities in the 80s, and if things are not functioning properly, we need to hear about that. We're not out there as often as you.
We've been trying to tell you people. We put a letter out. We asked for these things. We've been begging, and the city has ignored us.
drains that you put in 1984 or whenever it was worked very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's below that we're talking about, and even place above that. It's about a 6 feet or 80 feet below that drain box, that lower drain box, where the so-called Conejo pump is, with the crack. And then the water will run right into the crack, right into the slide. Even place, same thing, water runs down the road, right into the crack, into the slide. And that's what caused the problem in the first place, along with the broken sewer line. But that was 25 years ago. We didn't move the sewer, that's going to be eliminating that problem. But the drainage into the crack that is going to come, we all know it's going to form next month, the month after. You take teeny tiny crack, water goes down there, it starts the process all over again.
The really sad thing is if it falls at the bottom, it's like a grain of sand. If it falls at the bottom, it's just going to keep going. And soon, it's going to reach the top of that hill. There's huge homes at the top of that hill. Very expensive homes. So it's not just the people down at the bottom. I mean, this is very important. The drainage and the water is very, very important. A serious concern for all of us.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel you're bringing it up repeatedly on deaf ears. I don't think that it is on deaf ears, but the staff that we have had looking at it is trying to make a determination of what's going to work best for the entire area. And it may seem simple, yes, you keep the water out. That is certainly a simple answer, or a simple purpose, but the answer is not always quite as simple as it seems. So we've heard you again, and we will certainly be looking into it. It is not a dropped issue, and I understand that you're concerned that anything prior to the drainage seems a waste. We don't think that it's going to be quite that way. This is certainly helping, but I don't know that we're going to be able to supply an answer tonight about what is the condition or...
I appreciate this project, for sure.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Looking forward to trying to eliminate any problems in the future.
Good.
And we're very happy with what's going on here.
Okay. We have another question. Over here first,
The
son.
last we were here, they were talking about a separate project that was paving as well in the road. And I see a lot of spray paint on the ground. Does that have any date or
Well, if you're looking in there, you probably see white squares on the road, on Conejo. If you follow that all the way up, you're going to follow it up, but on Las Alturas, down Mission Ridge, that is a separate project. That is the slurry seal for this year, and currently, well, we tried to start today, but with a red flag alert, we didn't get any work done today. But you'll see Granite Construction is doing pavement preparation in the area, and then the slurry will follow. However, you see some marks directly at the top of this portion of work going up to the intersection of Conejo and Orizaba, and I don't believe that is going to be included in the work that's happening during the next number of weeks. So was that your question? What is that project, and does it impact this area? Yes.
I just wondered about, I understand that there's a lot of discussion about how deep the slide mess is and all of that, but a big part of this is just clay mud, marine terrace pushed up from the bottom of the ocean a long time ago that gets full of water and just moves. You know, it's not any miraculous earth movement way deep down. It's just about mud movement and water. Are they taking that into consideration? Or, I mean, I've heard a lot of cop-out with this slide deep down and all this stuff, that the more geology is done, the more that's not real. And so what about just the mud itself and what goes on with the mud? It's all kind of on the surface. I mean, all of this that we're talking about is pretty close to the surface that's moving, not way down deep. And it's about clay mud that gets full of water, gets heavy, and it moves.
Right, and that is happening at depth. We've installed some monitoring points in the road to see where that movement is happening, and it is at a significant depth. So what we're doing with this project is just reshaping the surface. That movement down below will probably continue. I'm not sure there's much of anything that can be done. We did have an engineering report done for some really conceptual costs of what it would take to, and it wasn't even a permanent fix, but to more effectively slow down the movement of this slide. And it was, I don't know how many millions of dollars just for this location and at Eland, and other multiple millions of dollars. And that wouldn't even that wouldn't be enough to stop it from the report that we have.
So is that published? Can we see it?
It hasn't been published, but I believe we could share that. That's, was that a Penfield and Smith report, or was that Cotton Shire's? Okay.
One of your monitoring wells is right there, kind of the hairpin where we were looking, and we were looking at it the other day, and I think we have, it goes down 75 feet, and you have sensors that tell you where, how much it moves at different depths in that area.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So where can you get this data? You have, there's a soil firm that
well, you might be looking at somewhat of what you are supplying here, but there is information at our front counter that is how much the surface has moved. I'm not sure that it includes any movement in depth.
And that's done every year, and there's points all up and down.
That's correct. So you've probably seen that.
GPS coordinates and whether they move or not.
That's correct. That is the surface.
I have all of that information. Now we're just curious about this new study that's been done, because they said they were going to, but I don't know any of us have seen it.
Well, the city hired Cotton Shires to put in 3 monitoring wells with holding clinometers. And they locate where the slide plane is in depth. There's one installed here, one here, and one at the Eland. They identify where the slide plane is in depth, its rate of movement, and its direction of movement. And each one of those has a slightly different direction and slightly different rate. But the ground was moving at something in the neighborhood of 2 to 3 inches a year, which can change and has changed as they monitor it. So the slide mass is moving up, it's getting ready to shear those monitoring wells off, and we're going to use that data. We see a lot of valuable data about where the slide plane is, how massive the slide is, and what rate it's moving.
So, 75-foot depth you're talking about? Is that, so at like 90 feet it's not moving, or 75 it is, or 75 feet is when you put it through?
Other 3 wells, the slide mass is different depth at each well, but that's correct. It's moving at 75 feet, it's not moving below that. So that's the slide plane where the soil is moving.
So was the more longer term solution just to put piers in the ground all the way to that depth, or what was that solution you're talking about that was really expensive and really serious? You know? Do you remember specifically what?
There were 3 different solutions. The most feasible was putting in dewatering wells to dewater the slide area like you were suggesting. But that would not stop the slide, it would just slow the slide down. People have said, the water acts as a lubricant. The other concept was more focused on stabilizing the road and not necessarily the entire slide. I don't know that it's really feasible to stabilize the entire slide because it's so massive. You can do anything if you have enough money, but we're talking tens of millions of dollars to try to mitigate the movement of the slide mass.
Too bad Caltrans doesn't own it.
Yeah.
That's what they just did down the road. Sort of like Todd Howard. 50 million.
Well, certainly hearing the concern about the water traveling down the road, going off the road onto properties, and the contractor is also here, so I will be reminding him and his staff to make sure that when we go through the area, we make sure that all of the berms that are in place are there or better than they are now to help with the situation, to keep the water as much as we can on the roadway directed to the known storm drains. That I can offer you. Any other questions?
There's another picture you have of all the easements and the properties that were actually moving into the sound of the easements. And,
Well, what did I have? Is it?
what happened if one day your house is in the easement?
Well, that day may not be that far away. And that's going to be the point that you're going to see the most as we do our work, as I was suggesting down in this area. There's hardscape that's out there that is going to end up being removed because that will be the location of the new road. So it is happening. The front yard's getting smaller, the backyard's getting bigger.
So I guess when you do a DPS thing, you're actually moving over to your neighbor's yard.
Well, that's sort of the idea of describing that 75-foot deep plane is the property lines are all staying stationary, and if the entire neighborhood is sort of moving, now it's not all moving in unison, but it's moving different directions as Brian described, but that is how we're ending up in the situation today where the road is now into what appears to be the front yard of some of these homes.
That's what I'm concerned about right there on the curve, because all that is one giant concrete block that's moving in unison.
Are you talking
About the curve, 486.
up right in there?
So you're going to take out the whole steps and the whole front of the driveway.
Yeah, I think that the driveway and the steps are actually down here.
And that's
Yeah.
I don't know, it's going to affect the movement, because it's not going to be able to hold it back right now, the big concrete block.
Well, it is, but that it still goes back to that same concept as there is some surface movement as you see. When it rains, you see you see the soil move down the street, and you see some surface movement. But I think the purpose of this project is to help mitigate the large movement, down at the depth where the entire neighborhood's moving. So therefore, a small retaining wall is going to retain the soil on the surface, but it's not moving or going to be holding back the bulk of the movement in that area. So taking out that small wall will keep a little drainage off, a little soil off the road, but it's not going to affect the slide movement of the entire area.
That distinguished from you down there, that was like, I think over, the longer to 1996 or something, it's moved something like 19 feet.
That sounds about right.
The whole garage.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere somebody's picking up some extra property.
Well, not really. That's what it sort of it was intended to be a joke. You have less front yard and more backyard. You're more dirt on top of the house. Yes. Yeah. How much is this costing? Is it $350,000 that for construction? The construction portion only, that is both the sewer and the street. And this is paid for by, the portion of the sewer is paid by the wastewater division, and the streets is paid for by, is it just?
Out of the streets fund.
Yeah, so out of the city funds.
Citywide. There won't be much of it this year.
Anything else? Well, you should be receiving a notice in the next number of days with phone numbers, my phone number, John's phone number, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call. I'll do what I can to answer the questions. Certainly managing the project, trying to do what I can to maintain your neighborhood. But going to certainly pay attention to the curbs and make sure the drainage is going in its intended course as best we can. But if you have issues, noise, dust, parking the truck, I'm not sure what could come up. A wide variety of things could come up. But I'm going to be your point of contact. When we get to the point of the phase change. I don't know that we're going to have another notification, but you're going to see the bulk of the work. As we finish up on the top, we're going to get the road all done. Up to this point, we're going to be making this access road, and you're going to know in the next number of days is when we're going to make the change, and you're going to need to start going up the top.
Are you gonna tear up the existing asphalt that's in there now, just remove it?
Yes, it's going to be all pulverized.
Are you gonna replace it with this material?
Well, the material, the foam is only going to be in this area, and that's going to fill that
The void right there?
the void, yes. And then we're going to have the soil on top and put the road section back on top of that foam, and then the road section all the way back up through this area.
I'm just curious how this material fits into what you're putting down. How does it stick to it?
Well, as John was,
Compacted it?
well, it's not. It's solid blocks. So we're going to dig out the entire area, make it level, and we're going to take these large blocks and pretty much stack them up. They're not Legos. They're not locking together. They're blocks. They're actual blocks, rectangular blocks. So they're going to stack those all up and build the core shape. It's not the road that you're going to be driving on. It's sort of, it's displacing the soil, trying to minimize the weight in that area, so we're trying to minimize the vertical drop that you've been witnessing for so many years. But the blocks are going to make the shape that it's all going to be covered in a fabric, and then we're going to backfill the soil on top, so then the soil will fill in all the voids, all the corners from the blocks as they fit together, and the soil will be on top, and we'll have the road structure on top. So you won't see any foam. It won't look any different when we're done. It's just sort of displacing a bulk of material in the center. Well, if that's it. No, we have to have tonight. Oh, I got here a little late myself, and I'm asked to remind if there's a sign-in sheet over here. We'd certainly like to have people sign up. Let us know that you're here, that you're interested, still interested, as the case may be. Joe, did you have anything to add before we take off?
Not really, just the fire department's going to stay on top of the road closure, obviously, because it affects our response and the way we get to you. So we're coordinating.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. So, sign-in sheet is that David probably has it right over here. Okay, thank you.